Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our first episode of Tales from the Hoard. I'm Jim.
And I'm Caitlin.
And we are the Delta Vidcast presenting this to you. Back to the Future has to be our first episode from Tales from the Hoard. It has to.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll tell you a story. When I was very little, all right, like even younger than like my oldest son and older than my youngest son. I was like right in between there. I was like really starting to get into like media, TV, music videos, whatnot. And I fell in love with Back to the Future right off the bat. And it was one of the first movies that I played over and over and over. We had a VHS of it, and I would just watch it over and over and over. And I would even play along, like, with my fake little guitar, when Marty would get up on the stage and sing and stuff like that. And I'd kick stuff over when he kicked the thing over. And it's just like, it's been kind of a staple ever since as long as I can remember. And honestly, if you think about it, it's kind of what got the Hoard started, because that's what the Hoard is. You buy a movie, you stick it in there, you watch it over and over and over because you really like it. And again, I have like, over a thousand DVDs. I don't know. I wouldn't say thousands, right? But it's definitely over 1,000.
We're getting close to almost 2,000.
Yeah, we're up there.
Yeah.
All right. Some people would look and be like, that seems like a problem, like a bit of a compulsion, and you might be all right, because it kind of is.
Yeah, but I think it's a compulsion I'm okay with.
Yeah, me too. Because again, those streaming services go out. We got a ton of DVD players around here, and we have stuff to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But if we watched one a day, we still want to get through all of them in a year.
Yeah, it would take us quite a few years to get through all of the.
Yeah,
at least probably like 6 years at least.
Yeah, one a day. That's wild.
Great Scott.
That's wild.
Yeah, so we're gonna be here a while, folks. There's gonna be lots of episodes of Tales from the Hoard.
Yeah, we're not short of material.
Back to the Future.
Okay.
Is the first one, and this is the complete trilogy. So it's like a little bit of a special edition one, and we're just gonna be talking about the first Back to the Future.
We're not talking about the
OG
trilogy right now.
1985.
All right, so let's kick this off. All right.
Let's okay, what's your most favorite scene in the whole movie?
The most favorite scene?
Yeah.
Like hands down, it's the when he gets up on stage and he's going off, and then right there at the end when everybody's like all looking at him with the slack jaw, like,
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But you kids are gonna love it.
I always like that line. I don't know.
Yeah. I like when George is finally standing up to Biff.
Hey, you. Get your damn hands off.
Oh. I don't know. I just think Crispin Glover's really cool. And he's so awkward. And he's actually kind of like that in real life. Like, he's really weird. And that translated so well to the George character.
Oh, yeah. And 100%.
So and it was just really cool to see that transition in that character, because even in the beginning of the movie, right, you got when the car got wrecked by Biff and Marty comes in and he's like, "Oh man, Dad, I really needed that car this weekend." He's like, "I am so sorry." And I'm like, wait a minute, if I said that to my dad after the car got wrecked, he'd be like, "It's not about you."
Yeah,
okay?
It's but he was just such a meek guy.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'm just not very good at confrontations.
Yeah. So that was really cool to see. But I don't know. So it's cool to see his dad like that, but then you see his mom, right? And so it starts the movie and she's kind of like an alcoholic.
Yeah, she's not kind of an alcoholic.
She is an alcoholic.
A total drunk.
But then it's you see her when she's all young, and it's the opening, the scene where George is falling off of the tree gets me every time.
He's a peeping Tom. Dad!
Hey, wait a minute. Who are you? Stella! Another one of these damn kids jumped in front of my car!
How many kids did Grandpa
Oh,
have?
at least 8, and 2 of them died. All right,
Okay.
and he got away with it. It's like the damn kids shouldn't have been in the road.
And how many of those kids do you think Lorraine took their pants off?
All the rest of them.
like crazy.
She was a little bit promiscuous.
Well, she's
as
like,
they
come
would
on,
say.
Marty. I'm almost 18. It's not like I've never parked before.
Yeah.
Jesus, you smoke too?
Marty, you're beginning to sound just like my mother.
The parents get me because they're both quirky in their own ways, and there's just like those really weird, funny scenes with them. So those are kind of some of my favorite scenes, was one with George and Lorraine, and the like learning who they were.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, it's like you had like an absolutely awesome cast.
Yeah.
You know, you had Christopher Lloyd. All right, that dude. You know, if you know his career, he stems way back with Danny DeVito and that show Taxi.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he's always played like those like really, you know, kooky kind of guys, and so he was like an obvious choice for like Doc Brown. I feel like, you know, you had Michael J. Fox, and you almost didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And it's we looked into this, right? And some of you may know, right? But Eric Stoltz was actually supposed to be Marty. Now, aside from what you looked up on the internet, okay, and the pictures that you see where it's like those, you know, parts where he's holding the camera and he's touching the license plate. Aside from those things, like you already know that's going to be a different movie.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody who's familiar with Eric Stoltz's career, like he's kind of more of a broody type. You know what I mean?
He's more of a serious actor.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's necessarily made for comedy. And as much as like there's like an obvious elephant in the room when it comes to Back to the Future, of like the dark side of Back to the Future. Like Disney rejected it because they're like, dude, like there's like incest in this movie.
You're trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me?
Yeah,
and then
the guy gets shot at the beginning.
Yeah, and then you got Eric Stoltz, and he's quoted saying, you know, like it's a tragedy. Like my character remembers a past that no one else does. You know.
Yeah.
And it's so like there is like a dark side of Back to the Future.
He's just like leaning into it.
Yeah, and everyone's like, no.
It's like it's supposed to be like a comedy.
Yeah, like they wanted it like goofy and comedy, and I get where Eric Stoltz is coming from, because he's like, well, my character's super smart. Like, you know, you would think of these things, and it's like, yeah, but like, you're thinking too much into it, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and he's great at what he does, but it just wasn't right for this movie.
The thing that pisses me off though is the story Tom Wilson told about like when he was Biff, and it's like they were doing this scene, and you know Eric Stoltz kept like, you know, like poking him in his chest, and you know, and you got to remember that Biff is a character. He's not a real dude. You know, Wilson wasn't like, you know, method acting.
He was a nerd.
You know, and he's like, oh, like, you know, like, what is this dude doing? Like, you know, I'm gonna fucking lay him out.
Yeah,
like,
didn't they say he had like bruises on his chest?
Yeah, and he had by the end of the shoot, he had bruises on his chest, and I don't know, that kind of makes me mad, because it's like, if you look him up, he's like a sweet guy. You know what I mean? He's a comedian. He plays his guitar. He
plays the tuba.
He's got the tuba. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So it's like, you know, like dissing him is kind of like, you know, a big for me.
I heard things like he wanted to be called Marty at all times, which made it really awkward when he was hitting on Leah, because he's a method actor. He's supposed to be Marty, and that's like his mom.
Yeah.
And then like even Christopher Lloyd was like, thought his name was Marty. He's like, oh, what a coincidence. Your name's Marty, and the character's Marty. I mean, like, he just didn't realize that he was method acting. Yeah, I'm glad it worked out the way it was, because this movie was literally written for Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
So I feel like they wouldn't, the producers, the director, like everybody would have been dissatisfied with the final product if it wasn't Michael J. Fox.
Well, you see, like, what we got, like they kind of threw it together, you know what I mean? If you follow like the commentaries and listen to the people that made it tell the stories, that when they finally got Michael J. Fox, they had to do reshoots and throw things together and kind of throw other ideas out, and despite all that, it's still pretty much the perfect movie.
Yeah.
Stood the test of time, inspired imaginations of people young and old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what's funny is I was watching a documentary and they were talking about it being the perfect movie, and I forget who the guy was, but he's like, it is not a perfect movie. And then he proceeds to tell you all like the little bloopers in the movie, like when George and Marty are in the backyard and they're talking with like his pocket like keeps going up and down,
Oh
and
yeah,
in and out, like throughout the scene, just because of the way the cuts were. So like I think it's funny that it's like you have to point those things out to like say it's not a perfect movie,
because the writing is so good. It keeps you invested, so you're not looking at his pockets. You know what I mean? You're invested in the conversation.
You know what was messed up about the whole Eric Stoltz thing though was how they like transitioned that. So basically, after filming for 6 weeks, they took the raw footage, kind of cut it together with Eric, and was like, "This is just not working. It's just not working for me." So they took it to Steven Spielberg, and they're like, "Yo, like this is not working." So he's like, "All right, I got you. Continue filming, but kind of like push Eric to the side, and we'll work on getting Michael J. Fox." And they did. They went and worked out a deal with Michael J. Fox to like with the producer of Family Ties so he could come do this movie. But for 2 weeks, they were still shooting. So they would just be like, "All right, Eric, a little more to the left.
Just a little bit.
Little bit more." And he's like, "I'm not even on the set anymore."
You're good.
You're good.
Perfect. You got me.
there.
You got me. I'm right. I'm in the shot. You're good.
And they filmed everybody else in close up. So people started like getting suspicious. They're like, "This is really sus."
They're gonna fire you.
And then all of a sudden, as soon as like Michael J. Fox is good to go, they're like, "All right, bye, Eric."
See, someday I hope they just like release like what they have, like just cut it together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like let's see it. Let's see the Stoltz cut. You know what I mean?
Right. And I feel like it would be a totally different movie with different undertones.
Yeah, and like make it clear it's not canon. You know what I mean? To the Back to the Future universe, but it would just be like a what if. But they probably could never do it because I bet you Eric Stoltz would be like, "No, forget you, man. Like you kicked me out of that movie. I don't want you using my face." Now, what I think is interesting about this movie too is how they filmed it. Okay, now most of it was filmed on a Universal backlot. A lot of you know that. Okay, but it's like that backlot has been used in so many movies, and I think sometimes people don't even realize, what movies are using it, because a lot of times, like the one show that they constantly used it, they never showed the clock tower building. They would only show it from certain angles, and now there's like a little gazebo in the middle of the square in front of where the clock tower is, but it showed up in pretty clearly, in fact, and you can see the movie theater if you watch the original Gremlins movie. Okay.
Yeah.
That actually was filmed right before they made Back to the Future. So how you see it, minus the snow, is pretty much the same setup as how it was used in Hill Valley. Now the snow is obviously fake, and knowing that, if you watch the movie and really look, there's times in Gremlins where you see the snow is just kind of like, sprayed on the trees. And it's like, why do the trees have leaves with snow on them?
Right. Growing up in Western New York, all them trees are bare when they have the snow
Exactly.
on them.
So, it has been in like a number of films.
Yeah, that's super cool. We also got a number of other casts that we didn't talk about that were fantastic. Leah Thompson, She, you know what's funny about her is like seen her first in Back to the Future. I didn't see Back to the Future until I was in my 20s. So this was like the first movie I really seen her in and knew her as an actress.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that her first movie is actually Jaws 3.
Oh yeah,
with Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, with Dennis Quaid.
Because we were watching, and I'm
Very
like,
first
oh my
movie.
gosh, she's in this. I thought, wait a second.
And it says introducing.
Introducing, yeah.
Yeah.
It was surprising, but
So,
I thought that was really
the
cool.
shark still looks fake. Maybe that's why Marty makes that joke. You know?
In Back to the Future, too.
Because let's be real, Jaws 3 was not received well.
No.
You know what I mean? And, yeah, so maybe that's why when in Back to the Future 2, like I know we said we weren't going to talk about it, but it's hard not to right now.
No, I hear you.
Maybe that's why they made that joke.
And Crispin Glover, too, I knew him from Charlie's Angels. Which is, people are gonna go wild over, but it's like, yeah, I was born in 92. Okay, so like,
hey, but it's like he did Willard. You know what I mean? He Friday the 13th. Shit, man. The guy was in some bangers. You know what I mean? He may have been a weird dude to work with, in the 80s or even now. Okay, but there's a method to his madness, and you can see it. The proof is in the pudding.
Some people are just so unique that's really what makes them like valuable on these movies.
Yeah.
And I think the weirdness and the manicness was great for George McFly. So it really worked in this case.
Yeah,
but I also hear, but again, it's like I was hearing stories of the directors like, listen, man, if you start touching your hair and moving and hopping around your chair one time, I'm going to duct tape you to it. It's surprising to me that such a great, fun, lighthearted movie has like all these stories about it. And every documentary you watch about Back to the Future is like, this movie was a nightmare to film. It was like a pain in the ass to get it.
The car didn't work.
Yeah, the car didn't work. It took like years to make, and it's like it was owned by like Columbia Pictures, and then Universal had to like finagle to get it. And then the whole issue with Eric Stoltz. And so it was like one thing after another with this movie. And then 4 people got appendicitis on set.
Yeah, that's like, that's when you start walking into, oh man, this set's like cursed territory.
Yeah, so it was like one thing after another kind of happened. But in the end, you get this like fantastic product. And it was so great that they even released it early. And they were like, yo, can this be ready by 4th of July weekend? And they did. They got it there.
And it's like, and you see, like, that movie is used so often in pop culture. You know what I mean? Freaking Family Guy episodes and a number of Seth Rogen movies. Like, and I Love You, Man, when they're like jamming out, he does the whole, this is the new sound you were looking for thing. You know what I mean? So, like, I feel like when you make waves like that, like, you're an icon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And this movie is definitely iconic.
Let's talk about the most iconic thing about this movie.
Okay.
The DeLorean.
The DeLorean.
Beautifully crafted for long life, the DeLorean is one of the most awaited automobiles in automotive history. Drive the DeLorean. Live the dream today.
The hottest, coolest piece of shit car. No.
No, for real though.
It's not its fault though. It's not the design of the car. It's just the engine they used was just a piece of crap.
Yeah, I was looking up little like things about the DeLoreans, and I guess they used 6 of them in the making of Back to the Future, and there was one that was in all 3 of them, and that one is currently at a museum called the Peterson Automotive Museum. Mm-hmm. They restored it because it originally was at Universal, and people kept stealing stuff out of the car and taking souvenirs, and it basically got like real messed up.
I saw the documentary where they restored it.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. And it was like it barely even looked like the time machine. It looked like just like a DeLorean that was parked that had been gutted. Like people just kept taking shit off.
Yeah, well, like to be fair, it was put together like piecemeal with different things. Like the base of the flux capacitor was a Dodge hubcap, and then I think you told me that there was a coffee maker used.
Yeah, but that was on the later at the end of the car, where the car that flies.
Yeah,
it's a coffee maker. That's Mr. Fusion or grinder, coffee grinder or something like that.
Yeah, and then they had to use like the reason why they got like the little alarm clock and the digital clock in there is because the real speedometer on the car only went to like 85 miles per hour.
Oh yeah, so they have the digital speedometer to kind of show it's going 88. So that the car is officially gone to 88 miles per hour.
And then the sound for the DeLorean, it did not sound like that. That's like a combination of a Porsche and the Star Wars, what was it, the Land Speeder.
Yeah, the Land Speeders. Now go back and watch Star Wars. Like, seriously, there's a lot of, like DeLorean sounds, I feel like, in spaceships. It's like, hey, you know? You know? So it's like, do they exist in the same universe?
I think that Back to the Future is definitely a staple for any Hoard, any DVD collection.
Yeah, you gotta own it.
Yeah, you have to own it.
Because the funny thing is like, even though out of all these years and all the times that I've seen it, I still find something new to appreciate about it every time, you know?
Yeah, and it's weird because it's like we're revisiting, so we're going back to the Future, but we're like in the future.
We're in the future going back to the future that's in the past, okay? About a kid who goes to their past but has to come to the future, which is our past.
Whoa, this is heavy.
There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
What?
But I tell you what, I watched Back to the Future again today, and I was jamming.
Yeah, that is a pretty like solid soundtrack. I mean, you know, I feel like that was Huey Lewis's like minute. You know what I mean?
Well, he wrote 2 songs for the movie, the "Gotta Get Back in Time" and then "Power of Love," and then he did the cameo, which he did not want to do.
I'm glad he did though.
Yeah. And then his song "Power of Love" was a Billboard Billboard's Hot 100. It was number 1.
See, like, so it was worth it, you know?
Yeah.
Some endeavors are worth getting into, and that was definitely for him one of them.
Yeah.
You know?
I miss the days when movies made their own music. Like, when's the last time you had a movie come out that made their own, like, theme song?
Peaches, 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 peaches. Ah! Oh, yeah. Oh.
All right, final thoughts, final word on Back to the Future.
All right, like I said, Back to the Future is like a must-see for anybody who hasn't seen it. Like, yeah, it's an older movie. You know, I'm starting to realize as I get older, like these movies that I covet, you know, not everybody's heard of them. You know, they're like, you know, what is that? Something like an old movie. What is it? All right, but seriously, it's definitely worth watching because it has had such a cultural impact.
It's influenced so much. And Michael J. Fox, since then, I mean, he's done so much for Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And he got like an Oscar recently, and it was for his humanitarian work with like Parkinson's and finding a cure and stuff like that. And he still does like cameos for this movie with Christopher Lloyd. And I feel like because of this movie, he's been able to do so much for his organizations and his humanitarian work. I mean, he did a lot of other stuff. He did Teen Wolf, you know, he was very but
let's be real, everybody like really knows him for the Back to the Future
and cherishes that movie, and it's just done a lot of good, I think.
Well, I enjoyed doing this. This is the first episode. All right, that's the first tale from the Hoard.
Yeah.
And we have many more, and we're gonna be doing this often. All right, and we're getting, like we said, we're gonna be really getting into it. So I hope you all are really ready for what we're about to bring down.
Yeah, I feel like Back to the Future is almost like a little prequel because everybody's seen it. Everybody knows the stories. It's not really much new that you can talk about when it comes to Back to the Future. But buckle up, kids. We're diving into the Hoard.
All right, and so Back to the Future checked off the list. I'm Jim.
And I'm Caitlin.
We are the Delta Vidcast. Be safe out there.
Plays the bad guy, the big bully Biff. Not only an actor, but a stand-up comedian and a fine musician. In fact, he's here to perform a musical selection for us. Would you welcome Tom Wilson? Tom?
Good evening. I'm really excited to be here. You excited to be here in this section over here? Huh? Come on. I'm not fooling around up here. I got a tuba and I'll use it, folks, okay? You excited to go over here? Look, everyone clap along with me, my count. Come on, let's get the show on the road. It's football season again. The air is crisp. People up there are too cool to clap or something? I said, keep in mind, I have a spit valve on this thing, folks. Let's see some clapping. Come on. All right, I'll be the marching band. You're all in the football stands. The words are, let's go nuts. You'll know when it comes in. Hold, you messed up the beat already. Hold it. 2 seconds, you people messed up the beat. Look, come on. I know it's a lot of white people in one room. Okay, come on. Let's concentrate. Keep this together. Look, I'm on your side, okay? But we can do this. Let's try it one more time. Watch your neighbor, okay? Come on. Watch your neighbor, everybody. Like 3 people got it right.